so you will be getting some marks for that. Okay, fine. So Sridhar, what did we discuss last class?
Yes, ma'am.
What did we discuss last class?
Ma'am, we solved problems
Huh.
to find the hardness before and after
Yes.
heating and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Okay. So far, what we have studied is what is hard water. Okay. Just let me start the recording. Hmm. So we have discussed about what is the hardness of water, which are the salts which causes hardness. Calcium and magnesium salts are responsible for the hardness of water. Bicarbonate of calcium and magnesium, they impart temporary hardness, whereas chlorides and sulfates of calcium and magnesium, they impart permanent hardness. The sum of temporary and permanent hardness is the total hardness of the water sample. The hardness of the water sample is expressed in terms of ppm. Next, we discussed how do we find out experimentally the total hardness of the given water sample. That is by EDTA method. It's a complexometric titration in which the indicator used is a EBT. EBT is a organic dye, Eriochrome black tea, which is blue in color. Okay, and when it reacts, when you add it to the hard water, it forms a metal EBT complex, that is wine red color. You continue the titration with the standard EDTA solution until you get a blue color. All right, and then we discussed about the calculation part also. So today we will be discussing another important parameter, that is known as dissolved oxygen of the water sample. Okay, dissolved oxygen of the water. What do you mean by dissolved oxygen, Samir? Samir,
Yes, ma'am.
what do you understand by dissolved oxygen?
Aqueous oxygen in water.
Okay, Pavan, what do you understand?
Ma'am. It's some amount of oxygen from atmosphere is dissolved in water bodies.
Water or water bodies?
Water bodies means like inside river water has dissolved oxygen like that.
Yes. Okay, so we are talking about dissolved oxygen. Okay, so in short we call it as a DO. Okay, henceforth I will be saying as a DO, so you can understand it is dissolved oxygen. Okay, first thing is that we need to understand why dissolved oxygen is important. Number one, dissolved oxygen study is very important. Okay, the analysis of amount of oxygen present in water is very important because of the survival of the aquatic creatures. Okay, so they need the oxygen which is present in water. So for the survival of the aquatic creatures, dissolved oxygen is very important. Besides that, for corrosion study as well as for the pollution control board, also it is necessary to know the amount of oxygen which is present in water. Is it clear why we need to study dissolved oxygen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then next is, how do we find out this amount of oxygen which is present in water? Okay, we have to look into a experimental method. Okay, we know that oxygen is sparingly soluble in water, sparingly soluble in water at a room temperature. The maximum amount of water which can be dissolved, the maximum amount of oxygen which is dissolved in water is about 8 to 9 ppm. How much? About 8 to 9 ppm at room temperature. We are going to find out the amount of oxygen dissolved in a water sample by Winkler's method. There are many methods by which this dissolved oxygen can be obtained, but we will be looking one of the particular method, that is Winkler's method. The principle of this Winkler's method is iodometric titration. Iodometric titration. Okay, what is iodometric titration? Can anyone say what is iodometric titration? Anyone? I think you have attended the first lab class. Okay, already you have attended the first lab class. If anyone can just say quickly what is iodometric titration, then it will be easier. Okay, so be interactive.
Titration done using iodine.
Okay.
Calculate using the amount of released iodine gas.
Sorry, say it again. Anirudh?
The amount of iodine gas is released is used to calculate
Yes,
the
ma'am.
concentration of the.
Yes. Okay. What I think Vidu said is iodine is titrated. Yes, iodine is titrated. Which iodine is titrated? Is the direct iodine solution is taken? No.
No, ma'am. The gas which is released from the.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Okay.
I didn't mention.
Yes.
Yes,
So we have to be very specific, because there is another one which is called iodimetry. In iodimetry, direct iodine solution is titrated, but here in iodometric, liberated iodine is titrated. Okay, so this can come as a long type question. Okay, so if it comes as a long type question, first you need to write the principle of dissolved oxygen by Winkler's method. The principle is iodometric titration. Okay, in which what happens? Okay, now take a let's say take a water sample, 250 ml of a water sample we take. Okay, simultaneously I will be telling the procedure as well as the equations. Okay, first you understand, 250 ml of a water sample we have taken, for which we are going to find out the amount of dissolved oxygen. For this, what we will be doing, we will be adding 2 ml of manganese sulfate, okay, and 3 ml of alkali azide potassium iodide. Okay, so when we add it, we put the stopper and shake it well for 10 to 15 minutes. How much? For 10 to 15 minutes, shake it well. Okay, then allow 2 minutes to settle it. Then you will see a white precipitate. Then you add 1 ml of sulfuric acid. Concentrated sulfuric acid, you add 1 ml. Then shake it well. When you shake it well, the precipitate dissolves okay, and iodine is liberated. This liberated iodine is titrated with the sodium thiosulfate. Let's try to understand more in detail. Okay, so you have taken manganese sulfate and in alkaline medium. When you have taken manganese sulfate in alkaline medium, it gives manganese hydroxide plus K2SO4. Now we have the water sample. In the water sample, the oxygen is dissolved. That dissolved oxygen is used up by manganese hydroxide to give basic manganic hydroxide oxide, basic manganic oxide, basic manganic oxide. Then we are treating it with sulfuric acid. Treat it with sulfuric acid, so that what will happen? Manganese sulfate plus water plus nascent oxygen you get. This nascent oxygen is used up by potassium iodide.
Ma'am,
Yes.
do you mind going slower?
Yeah. I'll just write it. I'll explain. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, now we will look into it again. Okay, what we have taken? We have taken the water sample. In the water sample, we have we have added 2 ml of manganese sulfate and 3 ml of alkali azide with potassium iodide. Okay, now manganese sulfate. Okay, what is the oxidation state of manganese here?
+2.
+2. Okay. What is the oxidation state of manganese here?
+2 only.
+2 only, ma'am.
+2 only. Yes, very good. Okay. What is the oxidation state of manganese here? Tell me. Nidhi. Yeah, tell me. What is the oxidation state here? Calculate. Doesn't matter even if it is wrong. OH is how much? OH is,
-1.
there are 2 OH.
Minus.
O? O is how much?
-2.
Ma'am, where are you talking about? Like your cursor, I guess, is not pointing.
Here.
Oh, okay. So,
Huh. O is how much? What is the oxidation state of O?
-2, ma'am.
-2. Yes, -2. Here OH is -2. So -2 is how much? -4. Then manganese is +4. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
So what is happening? The principle of this experiment is iodometric titration. Okay, in which the manganese gets oxidized from +2 to +4 state in alkali medium. Quiz type question can be twisted and asked. All right. So what is happening? Manganese getting oxidized in alkali medium from +2 to +4. Then this Mn+4 is liberating nascent oxygen. How much nascent oxygen it will produce? It will be equivalent to the basic manganic oxide. How much basic manganic oxide will be produced? Equivalent to the amount of oxygen which is dissolved. Correct? Backward I am telling.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now this nascent oxygen is used up by potassium iodide to liberate iodine. Okay, the amount of iodine liberated is equivalent to amount of nascent oxygen. Amount of nascent oxygen is equivalent to amount of a basic manganic oxide is equivalent to amount of a dissolved oxygen. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, this liberated iodine, we are going to titrate it with a standard sodium thiosulfate solution. Iodine is titrated with sodium thiosulfate solution, giving rise to sodium tetrathionate. All right. In this titration, starch is used as an indicator. Which type of indicator? Starch. Starch is an adsorption indicator.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I'm not understanding.
Which one?
Can you like tell it in steps properly, like theoretically, like I don't know, like this reacts with this and then this forms, and then when you add this, the precipitate dissolves. Can you tell that first and then the reaction part?
Yeah, okay, I'll repeat it again. Okay, I have already explained. Okay, when you are saying it again, I will explain. Okay, first you take 250 ml of water. To this, you add 2 ml of manganese sulfate, 3 ml of alkali azide potassium iodide. I will come back to this azide part little later. Okay, just you understand. 3 ml of alkali azide. When you add all these things and you shake it for, put the stopper and shake it for 10 to 15 minutes. When you shake it for 10 to 15 minutes, you get a precipitate of basic manganic oxide. Is it clear, Medhavi, so far?
Yes, ma'am, so far.
2 minutes part.
Sorry?
Ma'am, that 2 minutes. What is that for?
Yeah, I'll tell. Okay, you are here with me up to the precipitate?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. After this, you add 2 ml of 1 ml of concentrated sulfuric acid and shake it well. When you shake it well, this basic manganic oxide will dissolve in sulfuric acid and it will give rise to nascent oxygen. Mihir, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
So when the nascent oxygen is evolved, okay, this nascent oxygen, because you have added alkali azide potassium iodide, this nascent oxygen now reacts with the potassium iodide, giving rise to iodine. Clear?
Where's iodine now?
Here.
Oh, that's iodine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes. Potassium iodide, sulfuric acid, nascent oxygen giving rise to K2SO4 plus H2O plus iodine. Chiklit, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now this liberated iodine, how much iodine is liberated, we want to know. How we want to know? This liberated iodine is titrated with standard sodium thiosulfate. And using starch as the indicator, we get sodium iodide, sodium tetrathionate. Now, little bit about this indicator. Starch is an adsorption indicator. So, the starch is a very complicated coil kind of structure. When the concentration of iodine is very high, iodine will come inside this coil kind of structure and it will get entrapped. Then it will be able to react with sodium thiosulfate, then our estimation of iodine will not be correct. So what we have to do when the concentration of iodine is less? How do we know concentration of iodine is less? When the concentration of iodine is more, you get a dark yellow color. When the concentration of iodine is less, you have pale yellow color. During that time, towards the end point, you add starch indicator. It will not form any chemical bond and it is a adsorption indicator. So it will just stick here. Outside it will stick and it will form a complex. As soon as the sodium thiosulfate is coming, it will take out this iodine and it will go for the reaction. How do you find out the end point? Disappearance of a blue color. Okay, when you add starch, you get a blue color. Okay, see this blue color when disappears, you understand that that is the end point. Is it clear?
So here we add starch with iodine, then we add, so that is yellow color, and when we add sodium thiosulfate, that color will disappear.
No. See, iodine is there. Okay, iodine is liberated. Okay, so that will be like a dark yellow brownish type color you will be having. Then you titrate it with sodium thiosulfate until you get a pale yellow color.
Okay, ma'am.
When you get pale yellow color, badam milk color, okay, you add starch indicator.
Okay, ma'am.
So when starch reacts with iodine, it gives blue color.
Okay.
This blue color, okay, will disappear when you titrate it with the sodium thiosulfate.
Okay, ma'am.
Oh, Misha, have you played when you were small hide and seek game?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when you do this titration in the lab, you will observe very interesting. The blue color will be disappearing and appearing, disappearing, appearing. Okay, so it will play a hide and seek game with you.
Yes,
How do you make sure that the end point is reached? When the blue color is disappeared, you keep it for 30 seconds.
yeah.
You keep it for 30 seconds and you see that the blue color is not coming back again. Then you note down the reading.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now, aim is what? To find out the of dissolved oxygen. Isn't it? How much? 250 ml or 100 ml or 25 ml, some known amount of water sample you have taken. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
ma'am.
So you know the volume of a water sample. So I am saying a volume of a water sample, okay, is equal to, let's say, V2. We know the equation N1V1 is equal to N2V2, where
Yes, ma'am.
N1V1 is of a sodium thiosulfate is equal to N2V2 of a water sample. Now, N1 is known to us, normality of sodium thiosulfate. Volume of sodium thiosulfate we can find out from the titration. how much volume of water we have taken we know, then we can calculate N2 is equal to N1 V1 divided by V2.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next, DO, dissolve oxygen in 1 liter water sample is equal to N of a water sample multiplied with 8 gram or N of water sample multiplied with 8,000 milligram. Any doubt, any clarification so far?
You
Vidu?
mentioned that the amount of nascent oxygen released was equal to something. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, okay, fine. Now I'll go backward. Okay. The amount of iodine which is liberated, I am calculating by titrating with sodium thiosulfate. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How much amount of iodine will be liberated? That is equivalent to the amount of nascent oxygen which is used up by the potassium iodide.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, how much amount of nascent oxygen is produced? Okay, here the nascent oxygen is produced. That is equivalent to amount of basic manganic oxide present.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, how much amount of basic manganic oxide can be obtained here? Can be obtained is equivalent to amount of oxygen which is present.
Yes, ma'am.
So this amount of oxygen is nothing. This is the dissolved oxygen.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So backward we are going. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Okay. So we are calculating the amount of iodine. How this amount of iodine is liberated? This amount of iodine is liberated indirectly equivalent to the amount of nascent oxygen, amount of dissolved oxygen which is present. Can we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now henceforth, okay, I'm not going to talk to you about Winkler's method, dissolve oxygen, all those things. When I say DO, dissolve oxygen DO, you need to understand, keep in your mind entire thing what we discussed in the last 15 to 20 minutes. Omisha, is it clear? Respond, please.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when I say DO, dissolve oxygen, that means you know all these things in your mind. Okay. That it is the Winkler's method. Ma'am is talking manganese sulfate and alkali azide, sulfuric acid. They have reacted all these 3/4 step reactions and then the calculation. Now I said to you.
What do
Yes.
you mean by WS there? N2 V2 whole WS.
Water sample.
Okay.
Water sample. In short, I wrote water sample. Okay. So here sodium thiosulfate. Okay. N1V1 I am taking as sodium thiosulfate. N2V2 is corresponding to the water sample. All right. Sinchana? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So one more thing. Quiz type question or some reasoning type question. Why do you add azide? Okay, here what it says that alkali azide potassium iodide. Alkali is potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide. Potassium iodide is reacting, you can see here. What is the role of this azide? Okay, azide could be sodium azide, NaN3. Okay, sodium azide. The role of azide is to avoid the interference of
Nitrate, ma'am, to react with nitrite to react with the.
Yes, nitrite. Nitrite is NO2 minus. Okay, to avoid the interference of a nitrite, we are adding azide. Okay, now we will move on to little more using this DO calculation. There are many ways you can calculate the impurities present in a water sample. Okay, the impurities which are present in the ponds, lake and all, mostly your organic impurities, isn't it? They are mostly your dead bodies, like your leaves, dead plants, all these things are organic impurities. Whereas if you see a river or a drainage which is next to the industry, okay, what happens? It contains organic as well as inorganic impurities. There are two parameters which talks about the amount of oxidizable impurities present in this water sample. Not all the impurities, remember, not all the impurities, it is only the oxidizable impurities. Is it clear? We are talking about oxidizable impurities. Okay, today we will be talking something called BOD, biologically oxidizable impurities. BOD we will be looking into it. BOD is biologically oxygen demand. Yes, oxygen demand. Okay. So what is this biologically oxygen demand? Before going to that, okay, now you have while walking on the road, you might have passed by a drainage system. So Nidhi, what happens when you pass by the drainage which is on the roadside? What you observe?
We get bad odor
Bad odor. Why? Why?
because organic matter which is present in it. Anyone want to add something to what Nidhi is saying?
Breakdown of organic matter and the gases that are released in the process.
Yes. Okay. So what happens? The sewage water, okay, it contains organic as well as inorganic waste. Organic as well as inorganic waste it contains, and bacteria is present in water. There are two types of bacteria. One is called aerobic bacteria, another one is called anaerobic bacteria. Aerobic bacteria are those bacteria which survive in presence of free oxygen or dissolved oxygen. Now this anaerobic bacteria, survive by in absence of oxygen, free oxygen. What they do, the organic compound which is there, they take out the oxygen from the organic compound and they survive on it.
So when they take whether aerobic bacteria or anaerobic bacteria, when they use the oxygen, they break the organic oxidizable impurities into smaller compounds. Okay, so when the aerobic bacteria, they break down into smaller compounds, they give compounds like nitrates, sulfates, nitriles, etc. Okay, which does not produce any bad smell or bad odor. Whereas the anaerobic bacteria, they produce compounds like methane, H2S, pH3, which gives a very bad odor. Okay, now what is happening? The sewage water is containing your aerobic bacteria as well as anaerobic bacteria. This aerobic bacteria is taking off the dissolved oxygen for oxidation. Then what will happen to the amount of dissolved oxygen in the drainage sewage water?
Decrease.
Decrease. Okay, so when it decreased, when it comes below certain level, it is called that the water is said to be stale. So then what happens? This anaerobic bacteria, they do their job and you get the bad smell. Now, this is a parameter, BOD is a parameter which talks about the amount of biologically oxidizable impurities which is present in the water sample. Before getting into the details of BOD, first we will understand the definition of BOD. What is the definition of BOD? Listen very carefully and try to understand. Amount of oxygen in milligrams. What is it? Amount of oxygen in milligrams required by the microorganism to oxidize all the biologically oxidizable impurities present in 1 dm cube of water. I'll repeat it again. Understand very clearly. What is it? Amount of oxygen in milligrams required by the microorganism to oxidize. What to oxidize? Oxidize biologically oxidizable water of impurities, not water, biologically oxidizable impurities present in where? In the whole world or in the river? No, it is in 1 dm cube of water, which is kept for a period of 5 days. Which is kept for a period of 5 days. Anyone not able to understand the definition? Samir?
Ma'am, could you tell the last part for 5 days? What did you say?
Yeah, I'll explain. First, sorry?
Can you repeat it one time more, ma'am?
Yes, very good. Okay. So what we are going to do, okay, let's say Chiclet, okay, I gave you a biscuit packet, glucose biscuit packet, okay, and I asked you to eat. You ate a few biscuits. After that, you gave me the packet. You didn't tell me how many biscuits you ate. Is it possible for me to find out how many biscuits you ate?
No, ma'am.
Sinchana,
Yes, ma'am.
how? Tell me.
Could you please repeat the question?
I gave that what you call that 5 rupees that glucose biscuit packet. Okay, 5 rupees or 10 rupees that glucose biscuit packet to Chiklit. I asked him to eat. I gave the full packet without opening it. He ate a few biscuits in that. Then he returned the packet to me. He didn't tell me that how many biscuits he ate. Is there a way that I can find out how many biscuits he ate?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
By subtracting the number of biscuits he ate.
I can count. See, the packet contains 10 biscuits. That everyone knows. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So if he has written to me which contains 6 biscuits, that means I know that Chiklit has eaten 4 biscuits. Very simple. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's say that I have a water sample. Okay, I am calculating. Suppose say today is day 1. Okay, day 1 I am calculating the DO as a DO1. On day 5 I am calculating the sample. Let's say it is DO2. So tell me, DO1 will be more or DO2 will be more?
DO
Which one?
DO1.
DO1 will be more. Okay, then DO1 minus DO2 will be the amount of dissolved oxygen used for the oxidation of biologically oxidizable impurities.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now coming to the definition and the exact procedure. Okay, first what we will do, okay, we will take 1 dm cube of water. Okay, first we will take 1 dm cube of water, and what we will be doing, we are going to find out okay, what is the BOD of the water sample. For that, what we will do, 1 dm cube of water we have taken, okay, and we will bubble it with oxygen for 24 hours. When you bubble it with oxygen for 24 hours, the maximum amount of oxygen will be dissolved. Yes or no? Okay, to this water. Yes?
Could you repeat?
Take 1 dm cube of water and you bubble oxygen to this 1 dm cube of water under pressure for 24 hours. So the maximum amount of oxygen will be dissolved into the 1 dm cube of water sample. Chiklit, please stop playing.
Can you explain little slowly, ma'am?
I am telling take 1 dm cube of water sample and bubble it with oxygen for 24 hours. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So the maximum amount of oxygen will be dissolved in the water sample. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you have taken distilled water. You have taken distilled water. To this distilled water, you have added oxygen for 24 hours. Then to this, you add 1 cm cube of buffer having a pH of 7.2. You add 1 cm cube of magnesium sulfate, 1 cm cube of calcium chloride, and 1 cm cube of ferric chloride. I'll repeat it again. What you have done, you have taken 1 dm cube, 1 liter of distilled water. That distilled water, you have bubbled oxygen for 24 hours. Why? So that the maximum oxygen can be dissolved in that distilled water. To that distilled water, you add 1 cm cube of buffer pH 7.2, 1 cm cube of magnesium sulfate, 1 cm cube of calcium chloride, 1 cm cube of ferric chloride, and 2 cm cube of sludge. Why are we adding all these things? All these things we are adding because of the survival of the bacteria. The bacteria survives at pH 7, around 7. So that is why we are adding a buffer. Then magnesium sulfate, calcium chloride, ferric chloride are added as the nutrient for the bacteria. And for the source of bacteria, we are adding 2 cm cube of sludge. Is there any doubt so far? Please respond so that I can proceed.
Ma'am, all this is added to maintain the pH, right? Like for the bacteria to be there.
Buffer is for the pH.
Yes, ma'am, that's what.
Buffer is for the pH, okay, and all this magnesium sulfate, calcium chloride, ferric chloride is added as the nutrition for the bacteria.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And sludge is
Which
for the
buffer are
source
we
of
adding?
any buffer having a pH 7.2, around 7. All right. So now this water which you have prepared is known as a dilution water. Dilution water. Why we need to prepare this dilution water? First you need to understand. We know that oxygen is sparingly soluble in water. As I told you, at room temperature, about 7 to 8 ppm is the the amount of oxygen which is present. Now, very small amount of oxygen is present in water. Now, if the impurities present is this much and the oxygen, dissolved oxygen is this much, it will not be sufficient to oxidize all the impurities. Do you understand? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's say that in the water sample, the amount of impurities which is present is this much more. The amount of oxygen which is dissolved is this much. So this much oxygen cannot oxidize this much of oxidizable impurities.
Yes.
Okay, so what we are going to do, if we dilute the water sample, then in that water sample, just 1 second. So what happens? The amount of if you dilute the water sample, okay, if you dilute the water sample, what happens? The amount of waste which is present, the concentration of the waste impurities will be less.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you increase the volume, then what happens? The concentration of the waste will be less.
Yes.
Okay, so now what we do, let's say that we have taken the wastewater sample. Let's say that we have taken the wastewater sample 80 cm cube. Okay, to this 80 cm cube, I am adding a known volume. Let's say 20 cm cube of dilution water. Clear? 20 cm cube of dilution water I am adding. So what is the total volume now?
100.
100 cm cube.
Thank you.
All right. So 80 cm cube of the wastewater I have taken. To this I have added 20 cm cube. 20 cm cube meaning I am just giving an example. All I am trying to say that known volume of a dilution water I have added. What is dilution water? We have discussed here what is dilution water. So now the total volume is 100 cm cube. Okay. So like this I prepare bottle 1 and I prepare bottle 2. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
2 bottles I have prepared. Okay, I have added known volume of dilution water. Now for the bottle 1, today if I am starting the experiment day 1, I calculate the DO, that is DO1, where the reaction has not yet started, 0. Now I keep the bottle B2 at 22 degrees centigrade for 5 days. Why 5 days? Because this microorganism, bacteria, they oxidize the biologically oxidizable impurities, which is a very slow process. So there is nothing hard in first 5 days, but they have observed that 5 days is an ideal time for the microorganism to oxidize the biologically oxidizable impurities. So on day 5, I am calculating for bottle 2, let it be DO2. Now my BOD will be equal to DO1 minus DO2 will be the amount of oxygen which is used up, correct?
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
But yes,
DO1 is measured on day 1 or day 5?
day 1, bottle 1, day 1.
So why can't you measure bottle 1 only on day 5 also?
I have already taken the solution from that, no?
I didn't understand.
There is no difference between bottle 1 and bottle 2 on day 1.
Yes, ma'am.
If 100 cm cube I have prepared and I have taken the 100 cm cube for the titration, where any solution will be left?
Ma'am, but why are we titrating? Oh, okay.
We are titrating to find out the amount of oxygen which is dissolved in the water sample.
Yes, ma'am, understood.
Okay, on day 5, if you are calculating again the DO2, okay, so you know that how much dissolved oxygen is left. When you subtract it, you find out that how much dissolved oxygen is being used. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but what happens? This is DO1 minus DO2. DO1 minus DO2 will not give the correct BOD. We have to multiply with a dilution factor because we have not taken the original water sample. We have diluted to 20 cm cube. So we need to keep in account of this dilution factor. So for that, we have to multiply it with the volume after dilution divided by volume before dilution. Is it clear? When you have taken 100 cm cube, 80 cm cube of the original water sample plus 20 cm cube dilution water, then it is 100 cm cube. The DO which you are calculating here, this DO corresponds to 100 cm cube, the diluted water. It is not for the original water sample. For the original water sample, we have to keep account of the 20 cm cube which we have added to dilute. Am I clear?
Yes.
Omisha?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the dilution factor is the volume after dilution divided by volume before dilution. Okay, this gives you the BOD of the given water sample. Clear? So what will be the unit of BOD? Hello? Amount of oxygen in milligrams required by the microorganism to oxidize all the biologically oxidizable impurities present in 1 dm cube of water, milligrams per dm cube. What is the unit? ppm. Okay, milligrams per dm cube is ppm. So the unit of a BOD is a ppm. All right. Okay, please go through it once again, whatever we have discussed today. Once again in the next class we will recap it, then we will do the problems, then it will be clear for you. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then
Yes, ma'am.
we'll,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, you just go through it. If you don't understand, I'll repeat it again. Okay. Okay, thank you. We will stop it. We'll stop it here today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.